Welcome to Construction Junkies coverage of Groundbreak 2020, Procore's annual construction technology conference. My name is Shane, and right now I'm joined by Tom Alterman, the Vice President of Product for StructionSite. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining me.
It's great to be here. Nice to talk to you, Shane.
So I last spoke to StructionSite at last year's Groundbreak, and the CEO, Matt Daly, gave me a quick overview. But for those of us who haven't heard of StructionSite, would you mind giving us a quick overview of what you do?
Sure. So I'd say at a very high level, what we do is we focus on using 360 cameras, computer vision, and machine learning to automate all the critically important but tedious tasks on a job site. So where we started with that is with site documentation. So how can we make it incredibly easy with your mobile phone and a 360 camera to capture 2D, 3D photos on a floor plan, to have an accurate view of reality at all times and just keep a really solid view of the record of the project. And that was really our first incarnation and what we do best. We then added Video Walk, which allows you to, by simply walking around your site once, we use photogrammetry to actually create a Google Street View-like experience of your site. So you can look through all of your site, look back in history and see exactly what everything looked like at any point in the project.
Yeah, for me as a project manager too, I think that's so important. And I think I mentioned this last year too, but getting all those pictures sorted and combined and organized is a real task. So by just having to walk around the job site and the pictures basically embedded on the floor plan of the job site, it makes it so much easier to find what you're looking for, and you can go back and forth between history, see what happened when, and how it's changed over time.
Absolutely, and this is really founded by the fact that our founders come from technology and construction and really have felt these pain points incredibly deeply. We've been there on site. We know how hard it is to actually have that accurate view and how time consuming that can be. And so really wanted to see what could we do to shave hours off your day and help you no matter when you need that information.
Yeah, and as exciting as that program is, and for me as a project manager, even more exciting is what you guys are how you guys are taking it to the next level with artificial intelligence. So you have a new product called SmartTrack. Why don't you tell us what that is as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we, having now been able to give you this really clear view of reality and help you understand what's happening on your site, we are taking it a step further and actually analyzing that information for you and helping you understand with a really high degree of accuracy, are you on track? And if not, why not? Using our tool called SmartTrack, which is all focused around automatic production tracking. So the first incarnation of that is around drywall and framing. So what we're able to do by you just doing your site walks, capturing that information, we can identify what scopes of work have been happening on site. Is a top track, bottom track, drywall in, and also for the ceilings, being able to see at every stage in each room exactly the quantities installed and the percent complete. So here you're seeing someone walking on their site, and you can see here the framings installed. And what we'll be able to analyze from those photos are all those different steps in the drywall and framing process. So what we're able to do is give you these dashboards that show you, based on your targets, the exact linear feet installed and percent complete. And you can look that through all the different top track, bottom track, framing, ceilings, and you're seeing your production rate by week. You can jump back in time. You can actually go to the floor plan. So here we've been able to extract your estimates and your quantities from wherever you have them, whether it's a BIM model, whether it's in QTO, wherever that is. We can get it into our system and show you in real time on your plans what it looks like and what that means for your project. You can jump back in time, so you can also see at every single point where you are in that percent complete, which also helps really well with your billing cycle. So actually being able to say, are you on track? And what have you done and what can you get paid for is no longer a guessing and negotiating game. It's actually hard science and hard evidence.
Right. Yeah, that's so important when you submit your pay draw. It's like, well, I'm done with 45% of the job, but who really knows? Then right, you have those arguments, and it's like, how do you actually quantify this stuff? But with this program, I mean, you can't. How do you refute that? You know, refute the all-knowing computer.
Absolutely. And it's not just for that kind of negotiation and making sure you get paid on time for the work you do. It's also just the amount of time spent just trying to figure out what got done on site. It still
Right.
takes way too much time than it really should. And we can't really just rely on savants in the field who can just go in and eye somewhere and say, that looks 60% done. We can use a technology, and we're doing the hard work for you to actually tell you in detail, and not just how much work got done, but which scopes of work are done, and help you understand, are you on schedule? Are you on plan? If not, where do you need to invest your time and energy? And ultimately, are you going to make money on this project or not?
Right. Yeah, and this is, I mean, that's really the cool thing about this is that they always say a picture tells 1,000 words, but when you put AI into it, it gives you 1,000,000 data points. So, not only is it a picture better way to describe something, but it also creates so much data and makes it easier for you to run a project. So
Yeah, absolutely. And the real challenge with AI is not the potential of it, but how to make it practical and useful in the field. And how do
right.
you make sure that you're getting the critical answers you need, and how do we make sure that it actually works on site in your site conditions, not in theory up in the cloud? And so that's why we
Right.
invested a huge amount of energy, and we've really focused really deeply on drywall and framing to make sure that trade partners or self-performing GCs have the level of detail, the level of accuracy, and also just the all of the scopes that they need to track, to make sure that we're actually not just a nice to have tool, but a critical tool that really automates your production tracking workflows.
And for people that want to take advantage of SmartTrack too, there's no additional hardware. It's all built into the system, right?
There's no additional hardware. This is just what you do already in doing your site documentation, walking the site, doing your video walks. And in fact, we can process all of your existing photos and video walks. So if you're someone who has been using StructionSite and you decide, hey, I'd like to use SmartTrack, we can actually go back in time and analyze all your existing work to help you, to show you what your production tracking looked like in the past.
Oh, wow. So you can use historical data to affect your estimates in the future then.
Yeah, and just see how have you been doing? How have you what have your production rates been historically on your project?
Yeah. Oh, that's really awesome. I didn't realize you could do that. Um, with the ongoing pandemic and the reason we're doing this virtually, have you seen a shift in how either your existing users are using StructionSite or how new users are using it?
Absolutely, and I think this has been common across the industry, but also across the technology industry, that COVID has been an accelerator of technology and adoption of technology. And we see that with our tools, that previously site documentation was a really useful thing for a lot of, in particular areas. But once job sites had to have fewer people on site, it just became a really critical thing of being able to remotely log in and view the state of the work and have fewer people around, and tools like us have just become essential parts of their workflow. We've seen a lot of use cases really around how to do things remotely. So we have visual inspections, DPR doing their inspections, and actually inspectors using our tools to be able to do all their workflows without ever having to step foot on site, and be able to trust that the things are done correctly. We're seeing the pre-con teams for various GCs that we work with not also have to go on site and be able to do all of their work remotely. And these are things that are happening that are actually benefits that will outlast COVID? Why waste all the time in going to sites for inspectors, having to spend all the time moving between jobs when they can do a lot of that work from the comfort of their home? One of my favorite stories, though, have been how people have been using StructionSite creatively to help engage people during the pandemic. Barton Malo actually helped the Science Museum of Virginia help their patrons actually be able to walk through the museum using StructionSite. So they did a video walk all the way through the museum, and now you can go online and actually access that project and experience that museum remotely through our app.
That's awesome. That's actually, you brought up a great point that I didn't even think about, was the fact that inspectors could use this, and it's way more reliable to use a 360-degree photo than a single view photo, because they can see the context of the site.
Absolutely, and we also one of the key things that we integrate with Procore is around observations and RFIs to make sure that when people are doing, whether it's the inspectors, whether it's you're doing your QA QC workflows, you can actually do that all through StructionSite and generate observations and RFIs in Procore, so that we can integrate with all of those key workflows. And awesome. Just also add notes anywhere in the 360 photo that you can assign to people and continue that collaboration, even if you're not all in the field together.
Awesome. So I know we're here talking about Groundbreak, obviously, but you guys also have a virtual exhibit or a convention coming up called StructionSite's Summit. What kind of details do you have on that?
Absolutely, yeah, that's on November 12th, and people can sign up to that. It's going to be online, one day, and really targeted around talking about some of the key things in our industry that are happening around the virtual job site. We'll go into more detail about automated production tracking, the work that's happening there, but we also want to have we'll also be having different customers and different key speakers in the industry talking about a lot of the key things around artificial intelligence and automation and advances that we're seeing in the world. So we'd love for you and everyone else to come join us there.
Cool, and that's free too, right?
Absolutely free to join, and the sessions will also be recorded, but we'd love to have you join live and join the discussions there.
Perfect. So how could they find more information about StructionSite?
Going to StructionSite.com. That's like construction site, but without the CON at the beginning.
Perfect.
We'll also be at Groundbreak. We'll have our virtual booth at Groundbreak, and we'll have. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but we have some exciting stuff coming out with Procore that will be announced there and then. So look out for some really exciting things coming down the pipeline at Groundbreak.
Perfect. Looking forward to it. So like Tom mentioned, you can find them at Groundbreak 2020, which will be held on October 27th and 28th. And if you are interested in attending that one, I actually have a coupon code for $10 off registration, and I'll include that in the description below. And as always, be sure to check out constructionjunkie.com for the most interesting construction news and technology. Thanks, Tom.